Hey y'all, so today I want to talk to you about the 10th dimension and your three biblical powers. And this was originally going to be two different videos, but the more I thought about it, I felt like they went together. So I'm going to make them into one video. So let's jump right in. So, as someone who has practiced some form of magic for the last 30 something years, I have always been interested in bridging the gap between what is considered science and what is considered magic. Um, I saw a documentary a couple of years ago about how the 60s Star Trek series was the inspiration for a lot of technology that we have today. For example, those old communicators they use look a lot like the early flip phones, and you see them carrying around things that today we would call an iPad. And fiction has often inspired advances in the real world. I know, like in comic books and things, um, and other works of fiction, um, people who practice magic were able to do it just because it's magic. But as readers became more sophisticated, writers drew upon science and theoretical science to sort of explain how people who practice magic in comics and works of fiction were able to do this. There was a science behind magic, and conversely, there was magic behind the science. And a lot of scientists tried to duplicate what magicians were said to be able to do. For example, there was a man in Japan or China, I can't remember which, but he created a working invisibility cloak, or an early model for one. Um, Wired magazine, I used to have a subscription to that magazine. It was a magazine about science and technology, but it really wasn't afraid to go in that direction about of magic and the supernatural and sort of the science behind it, and how scientists are trying to duplicate magic. Um, Another example is of science backing up magic is the idea of quantum entanglement, which states basically that things that were separated from one another continue to exert an influence over each other even though they're separate. And those of you who practice magic will recognize that definition as being the same for what's called sympathetic magic. You take someone's hair, you put it in a doll, you name that doll after the person, and whatever you do to the doll happens to the person. That's quantum entanglement and sympathetic magic. Um, so I was reading an article a couple days ago. I am by no means a scientist myself, and I can't say that I understand everything that I read. You know, I'm fascinated by um, the God particle, string theory, things of that nature. And I try to look at it through the lens of magic and the spiritual. But I was reading an article a couple weeks ago, and it stated that scientists now believe that there are basically 10 dimensions of reality. There may be more. We may be limited by our ability to perceive them, but scientists believe there are 10 dimensions of reality. Now, the first three we know already: length, width, and depth. I know that from my art classes. Everything that's physical, everything has a length, a width, and a depth. It's third dimension. You know, if I draw a picture of a dog on paper, that's 2 dimensions. But if an actual dog comes along, that dog is 3 dimensions, right? So those are the first 3 dimensions. The fourth dimension is thought to be time itself, time. Not only where I am, but when I am. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I understand the 5th through the 9th dimensions. I can't explain it. I've read it, but I can't explain it myself. But I want to focus on the 10th dimension. And the 10th dimension is described by scientists as a dimension of reality where all possibilities exist at once, right? So that is sounding a lot like what I've been talking to you about the unmanifest, the reality where we reach into and pull out the specific thing that we want, right? So scientists believe that this dimension I've been talking to you about, the unmanifest, exists, and they call it the 10th dimension. And we as humans are able to reach into that dimension, take hold of the specific reality or potential that we want and pull it into our reality and make it so. And how are we able to do that? And so I'm going to explain it to you. We as humans are able to pull from this dimension of reality by virtue of our 3 biblical powers that everybody has. Everybody who's reading it, everybody who's watching this video, everybody who's alive, everybody has these 3 biblical powers, and I'm going to explain them to you, okay? The first power is thought. We know that our thoughts are the building blocks of our lives, and we know that our collective thoughts are the building blocks of the universe. In the Bible, it says God created everything. We think of God as the architect of the universe. Now, when we think of God as an architect, let's think of an architect. An architect doesn't just wake up one morning and decides to build a house. What he may create a diagram, or a drawing, but before he makes that drawing, he has to conjure a vision of that home in his mind. And to conjure that vision in his mind, he has to think about it. Where will it face, east or west? Will there be a 1 level or 2 levels? How many bedrooms will it have? Where will I put any shrubbery? Will there be a pool? Will there be a fence? He or she, women can be architects, thinks about what they want to create, and then they draw it up, that diagram on paper, which becomes their building plan, and then they make it into reality. So everything that exists, everything material and immaterial that exists, began with a thought. This apartment I'm living in, someone thought about it before they created it. The glasses I'm wearing, the clothes I'm wearing, the Fitbit I'm wearing, this vase right here, all these things began as a thought in someone's mind, and then they made it so. The same is true with the immaterial. There's a black cat watching me give y'all this thing, and he's approaching very slowly, looking at me. Anyway, immaterial things, we create these in our lives as well. If you want to attract love, this cat is worrying me. I'm scared it's going to try to go in my house. Oh, okay. You do what you want to. I'm going to sit here and talk to the people, all right? Okay, so let's say if you want to attract love or money, we have to calibrate our energy. I'm sorry, this cat's distracting me. We have to calibrate our energy to the frequency of what we desire. So if you want to attract love, you be loving. If you want to attract money, you act as if you have money, and money will flow to you. We match our energies to what we want. A lot of people who come to me looking to attract the lover, I have them, write down a list of the qualities that you're looking for in someone, and then try to emulate those qualities yourself. Because if you're attracted to those energies, someone else is going to be attracted to those energies too. So you become what it is you want to attract. And the way we calibrate our energy is through our thoughts, right? All right, so that's our first biblical power. Our second biblical power is our words. We have the power of speech, and things like prayer, affirmations, mantras, they fall under this power. Going back to the Bible, we know that the Bible says God spoke the universe into creation. He said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be water, let there be fish and fowl and people and whatnot. He spoke, and just like God spoke the universe into being, we can speak our own desires into being. And again, we do this through prayers, affirmations, chanting, sacred breath work. All these things fall under that. Again, our words and our thoughts calibrate our energy. Finally, our third biblical power is action, right? We have to be an active part in our own lives. You can't get a job if you don't go out and put in applications and meet people. You cannot meet a romantic partner if you don't get out there and where the people are and mingle. You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. We have to be active participants in our own lives. God did not say, think about multiplying. God did not say, talk about multiplying. God said, go ye forth and multiply. Go ye forth, be an active participant in your own life. And so we become active participants in our own life by engaging with life and not just, magically thinking that, oh, if I think about money, money's going to come to me. Thinking about these things and speaking about these things, those are the beginning. But we have to back these intentions and desires up with action in our own lives. And again, so how do we pull from the 10th dimension? Well, spells and rituals, they use all three biblical powers, right? We have to think about what we want. We have to think about what symbols we're going to use to pull that desire into our lives. Are we going to use a candle? Are we going to maybe fix a mojo bag? What herbs are we going to put in there? What oils are we going to use? We begin building it up in our mind by gathering symbols of what we want. Red for love, green for money, yellow for success. What herbs vibrate at the frequency of love and money or health? We pull these things together. Thought, right? Words are how we frame our intentions. I want this. I want to be prosperous. I want a job. I want to be loved. I want to have good health. And we take that intention and we can turn it into an affirmative prayer. God in me is my good health. Or for the Wiccans and the pagans, you'll write an incantation or a spell. It can be a prayer. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want for money, success, love, prosperity. However you want to do it, words are how we frame our intention. And finally, actions are the physical component of our spell. It's putting the herbs in the mojo bag. It's anointing the candle. It is lighting the candle. It's, putting the little pin in the doll where we want to be healed and drawing attention to that area of the body. People think about the little pin stuck doll as hurting people, but no, it's like you're activating energies. If I have a broken heart, I might make a little doll of myself and put a pin in the heart to draw, like acupuncture, to draw energy there. So spells draw upon our three biblical powers: thought, words, and action. And then finally, once we perform the spell, again, we back it up by being an active participant in our own lives. Going out, putting in applications, buying the lottery ticket, meeting people, putting an ad on a dating site, whatever it is. You have to sort of back it up and show the universe that you are serious about what it is that you want to draw to yourself. And then finally, another thing that I personally do, I've done this before, is, and you can try it and see if it works for you. It may feel silly, but say I'm burning a candle for a reason, and I've did all my ritual actions, I've said my prayer, I've visualized, I've meditated on it. I may physically reach up with my hands like this and imagine that I am reaching into the unmanifest, the 10th dimension. And let me put my hands down so you can see. And I'll imagine that what I want is right there in that dimension, and I'll focus on what I want and I'll grab it. The one potential, the one possibility I'm trying to manifest. E pluribus unum, the Latin incantation, one of many. I'll grab a hold of it with my hands, and when I'm ready, I will pull down that energy, that idea into our reality, and I'll hold it over my candle or my doll or my mojo, and I'll let it go, and I'll let that energy just flow into my candle or my talisman or whatever it is. And that is planting the seed in our reality for it to germinate and grow. And I water that seed every day with positive thoughts, positive words, and by being an active participant in manifesting whatever it is that I want. Anyway, that is my little sermon on the 10th dimension and your 3 biblical powers. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some kind of value in it. Use this knowledge wisely and tell me, what are you going to manifest with your 3 biblical powers?